So we're gonna get straight into it. Um, this is about martial arts. It's something I'm passionate about. So ask me any questions you got as far as martial arts. I will say I'm an expert, but I won't say um, that I pretend to be a master of any particular style. Um, I'm not a a certified instructor in any particular style. I've just literally been practicing for over 30 years and have dabbled in many things, sort of a jack of all trades sort of thing. So ask me the questions and I'll um, attempt to answer them to the best of my knowledge. And we can ignore that phone. Okay. But yeah, while I cook, you guys can ask me some questions. How about that? Fair game? Fair game. And mind you, if it's something that is like something I find to be a myth, I'll let you know that, it's a martial arts myth, as I have done many videos actually talking about different types of martial arts myths that are afoot that people take seriously, but may be ill-informed that these things aren't legit. So we can do that, okay? And of course, there's no communique. Then we'll just end this shortly, and we'll do another live stream later in the evening. But yeah, are there any martial arts questions? Because I often get some on completely unrelated topics that I'm doing. Um, I even demonstrated some techniques for one guy, and I didn't mind, even though it was completely unrelated to the topic. But he's struggling with substance use, and I wanted to encourage him. So I decided I'll just do another topic where I'm just talking about all martial arts. So this is that day. All martial arts. Let's go. Let's get it. um, what sort of substances? Well, that's his personal journey. I'm not going to get too much into what uh, problems that man had. That's not the topic of today. The topic is martial arts questions. It's not about that man um, going through recovery. If he wants to come on here and talk about it, he's more than welcome to do so. But it is not for me to talk about that man's issues. I find that distasteful. I'm just here to encourage him to stay clean, because the last time I talked with him, he was a day clean, then a few days clean, then up until the last time I talked to him, about 5 or 6 days clean. So I want to encourage that keep going. But yep. Making something good here, guys. Making some good food here. Um, and again, this is not about people using substances. So if you've turned into this live stream thinking that's what this is about, you're poorly mistaken. This is about asking me about martial arts questions or fitness in general, but mostly um, martial arts. But however, if it's only going to be a bunch of trolls and a bunch of low IQ morons, then I'll end it early because I don't have time for idiots. You guys can go be morons on your own time. However, if you want to drop a super chat, we can talk about anything you want. Drop a super chat donation and we can talk about any topic you want if you drop a super chat. If and only if you drop a super chat. Which also pertains to super stickers or super thanks. So any of those three forms of supers that you wanted to do, then I'll answer those questions. But yeah, any guys have any martial arts questions, techniques, concepts, originality of different art forms, how they're practiced, how they should be trained, are they effective? I'm doing all right, Hunter. Thanks for asking. Turn this heat down a little bit. But yeah, guys, any questions? Like I said, questions about techniques, how they should be performed, what are the different techniques, what styles are there out there, which styles are effective, which styles are ineffective, how long have they been around, what are the concepts of this certain art form, where did this art form originate, can I compete with this, like any martial arts related questions, we can go at it. Some troll asked me why my teeth are crooked. Like, because his mother prefers it that way on her pussy. Anyway. By the way, I hope people enjoyed my short interview with Miss Needle, a German musician and a follower and now friend of the channel. But yeah, I'm gonna just ban trolls left and right, so don't care. You guys are losers. How much to bleach your hair? Put it in the super chat. I'm not answering questions that don't pertain to the topic. The topic is what martial arts questions do people have? If it's not a martial arts related question, leave it in the super chat or drop me a super sticker or super thanks. I'm not answering any questions not related to martial arts. Full stop, period. QED. I don't mind answering irrelevant questions, but they should be in the form of a super chat. Otherwise, they won't be acknowledged. You said, "What's martial arts? I've never done it," but you claim your YouTube handle is Sports Fact Weekly. Yeah, okay. Mind you, I'm one of the rare YouTubers and live streams that I do actually talk with the people in the chat room. However, like I said, I don't tolerate trolling, so people will be timed out or banned depending on the severity of the comment that they're leaving. As far as if it's abusive language or offensive or whatever, not offensive to me, but offensive to other people who might come onto the platform. So, and if you're gonna, and if people keep talking about irrelevant stuff, then I'll just time them out as well because it's not going to derail my conversation. Some of you need professional help, and I'm not the one to give it because that's why I refused to do clinical psychology when I was in school, because I don't want to deal with mental midgets like some of you folks. And I'm not talking about you good fellow viewers watching. I'm talking about the trolls. Because I know some people will watch this on replay like, oh my god, he's calling all of this. No, 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 no. Just referring to the trolls that I had to ban or time out. But according to my friend Miss Needle, um, she said that most live streamers are going through it right now where there's an influx of trolls coming into these platforms. Apparently a lot of people go to social media who need professional help instead of getting that very help that they need and think and get some sort of um, um, I don't know, cheap thrill out of harassing streamers. So be it. But yeah, this is legitimate though. Asking, I mean, excuse me, answering any martial arts or self-defense related questions. I am a part-time martial arts coach, so I'm available to answer those questions. But again, like I said, if I don't get those questions, I will I will just put up the deuces until this evening and come up with another topic for the people who normally follow me in the evening. This time of day tends to get the losers because most of these people should be at work or in school. Well, it's summertime, so maybe not in school, but a lot of these people are possibly minors and need to find better things to do with their life. In the summer, as a teenager, I definitely wouldn't be at home but I didn't have helicopter parents. Gen X, we pretty much did what we wanted. I don't know who that is, Sharon. Sorry. Martial arts is fighting. It can be, but not all of it. I would say self-defense involves fighting. Martial arts, yeah, involves some fighting, but there's way more aspects to it than that. That's why I said I can answer any or attempt to answer any questions related to martial arts. It doesn't just have to be about self-defense. It can be conceptual questions, training methods, history of certain art forms, and all that sort of stuff. Is it self-defense is a fight? Well, yes, yes. So the thing is, though, just people don't like the word fighting, Sama. So usually when people, market themselves as self-defense coaches because it sounds better than saying we're teaching you um, fighting sports or combat. Most people don't, that sounds too aggressive. So most people say self-defense. But yes, self-defense is fighting. However, there are other aspects to self-defense besides fighting, like knowing how to be in places that won't get you in danger, right? Or staying fit. So I always tell people 50% of self-defense involves staying fit. People are just not going to, unless someone is like addled with drugs or just desperate or just don't care, like they're just sociopaths or whatever, they aren't going to pick on the person who looks physically fit. They're going to pick on the person who looks weak. So being physically fit is half of self-defense. And on top of that, let's say they do actually attack the person who's physically fit, you're in more of a position to defend yourselves than the person who's out of shape. So physical fitness is at least half, makes up half of self-defense. The other half is fighting, situational awareness, um, and other things. Yeah, you're right, Cecil. You said that's why I told my little brother to stay away from bad places. Absolutely, that is an aspect of self-defense. Having using common sense, that is an aspect of self-defense. If you don't put yourself in a bad place, you don't have to worry about will I be able to defend myself in this situation. That is an aspect of self-defense. You're absolutely right. Um, um, and some things do happen. They are out of our control sometimes, and that's when you have to be uh, fit to fight. Um, the, the other issue is I think all like adult men should have some sort of training in self defense and martial arts. I mean, luckily most of us got this through gym. At least back in the day, I can't talk for physical education nowadays for people who are Gen Zers and Generation Alpha. A lot of these kids don't get daily PE classes like we did for people who are Gen X and millennials. But we used to get training like a lot of gyms. They taught us wrestling. They taught us boxing. A lot don't do that though. You said they have guns though. Yes, that's an aspect of self-defense. Brontilis is being trained with firearms. Again, like I said, self-defense isn't just fighting. It's also so yes, it's hand to knowing hand-to-hand combat, but it's also knowing how to use weapons, including firearms. It's using situational awareness. It's using common sense to avoid dangerous situations. You know, it's being physically fit, which I said is makes up half of self-defense. Because all the tactical firearm instruction will will involve you being physically fit and learning hand-to-hand training. Thing with firearms, though, um, people who have guns and stuff like that. Um, so when it's a when so more than likely, Brontolis, when it's a self-defense situation, when it comes to guns, is usually in close quarters, right? At close quarters, when these people try to come at you with a gun, they put themselves at risk too, because if you are someone like me who carries EDC weapons on you, EDC means everyday carry weapons, they're putting themselves in a position where I can hurt them too, because in close quarters I can disengage a knife faster than they can shoot and aim. Now, if they already have their gun aimed and locked on me, there's really not much I can do. I, out of common sense, would just do whatever they ask, give them my money or wallet or whatever they want, and tell them to be about their business. There's not much you can do about that. There are some martial arts to teach gun disarms. I've learned these gun disarms, but I don't teach those to people. I don't believe they're useful. Gun disarms, in the best of circumstances, only work 50% of the time, which means that's if something only works 50% of the time, that means it only works out of random chance. Any technique that only works out of random chance is not a useful technique. So I don't believe in gun disarms. If someone comes at you, they've already have a gun on you. You don't know if it's actually loaded or not. You should assume that it is and do what they ask. So, it's common sense. um, See, some says being big is a huge advantage when your opponent isn't a trained fighter. True. Again, someone who looks physically fit is going to be more or less likely to be attacked by someone on the street because they look like they can handle their business, right? American rednecks has always packed. So yeah, so for some people, if you are really concerned about people out there who might hurt you, you might want to exercise your Second Amendment rights. My 2A bros, where you at? Um, Whether, depending on the state, you might have concealed carry, open carry, constitutional carry, whatever. If you're concerned, go ahead and do your due diligence to get your concealed carry weapon and permit. I mean, your concealed carry permit and weapon, and go to the range and get your training so that you can use it. Um, and make sure that you know when and where you can legally use it, right? But yeah, some if you can pack your if you can go around for your CCW, go ahead and do so. Not every place allows it everywhere, so you have to be mindful of that you can't take your CCW with you everywhere. On top of that, even if you can, even if you are in somewhere where the like somewhere more inviting to 2A friendly people, like say like Utah or Texas, even in those places, you still need to know hand-to-hand combat training because, like I'm telling you, some people think all you need is a gun. I'm telling you, tactical firearm instructors are going to make you learn hand-to-hand combat training with that gun because when you're using a gun in self-defense, it's usually in a close quarters. So you're going to end up learning some wrestling techniques to go along with handling that firearm so that people can't take it from you. Bronson says, "Yeah, gun disarms end in heaven." Right? Krav Maga is the worst with that. I'm not trying to. I'm not gonna even rag on them today like I usually do. But Krav Maga can be a useful martial art when they actually spar and compete, but most of them don't like to spar and compete. And they teach these gun disarms, which are very impractical. Like I said, even in the best of times, they only work 50%, and that's not reliable. American rednecks is smart, man. Thank you, I appreciate it. But yeah, like I said, guys, if an aspect of self defense is carrying a weapon, but you better know how to use it, and you better know when you can legally use it, right? Because there's some people who say I'd rather be judged by what is it? They say judged by nine than judged by six than carried by nine or whatever you call it. I get the sentiment, but you do have to worry about that. um, a lot of people who justifiably defend themselves with their tools end up behind bars because they didn't know the legal procedures. So you might want to, if if so, for people who do carry weapons, they might want to get like a membership to USCCA or something like that. Wildlife 25 says, especially with these new gun attachments, yeah. C. Thomas says here in Germany, most guys don't carry guns. Yeah, I'm familiar. I have a friend over there, Miss Needle. Um, she was telling me there's actually a lot of stabbings in Germany, and I said that makes sense because you don't curb like you can't getting rid of weapons doesn't get rid of human violence and psychopathic tendencies. So people are going to find a way to hurt others, whether they have guns or knives or whatever, or sticks. So they have more stabbings in Germany, which to me is actually scarier because it happens at a closer, in a much closer distance where you can be caught completely unaware, right? Um, and yeah, I know, yeah, it would probably be hard to get um, legal guns in Germany. Is it easy to buy firearms in America? Yes and no. It depends on the state. Like, so I'm here in Maryland. They recently threw away a law where you had to get a, you had to get a permit. So you had to get a license before you could even buy a gun. Before you still had, but you still had to, but then even after that, you still had to go through all the background checks and all that sort of stuff. So they threw that away. However, the state police are still requiring people to do this until the court updates this new law for them, which basically means they're not. Basically means they're deciding on their own that they're not going to listen to the courts until the court makes them do so. So when people always say it's so easy to get a weapon here, not necessarily. Bronson says there's more guns than people, homie. Yes, but you realize most of those guns are just people's personal collection. That doesn't really mean anything. That's like saying there's more toys than toy collectors. Obviously, because a lot of these people collect them. Most people aren't walking outside armed to the teeth. They have their weapons in their personal collection. These a lot of these people who are gun enthusiasts buy them because they like collecting them, and some of them may keep them stashed in their house for self-defense, whereas and others keep them as personal collection as part of their personal collection, and they might occasionally use them on a firing range. But the fact that there's more guns than people isn't really alarming unless everyone was actually going outside armed to the teeth, but most people aren't. So American Redneck says I was in the Marines and I do pack everywhere. I don't blame you. Like here in Baltimore, American Redneck, I like my one of my friends. He's a tactical firearm instructor. Another one, he has um, his concealed carry, and they're both telling me I should get one. The only reason I haven't is because I plan on moving out of the country soon, so it didn't make sense to go ahead and get it. But I'm considering it because if you know Baltimore, it's really bad right now. Like they say violent crime has gone down, which is true, but quality of life crimes have gone up. And to me, those are scarier because they're random and it's like everywhere. Like I live in the suburbs of Baltimore, and even here, you got to worry about it. And in the city, forget about it. It's no man's land. So I get it. I don't blame you. Like I said, if I knew I was staying here, I would get my concealed carry as well and take it with me everywhere. My friend does, and I don't blame him. Sophia says hello from far away. Hi, Sophia. Where from far away are you exactly? Am I? Excuse me, guys. I'm actually cooking while I talk to you. Let me finish these comments. I'm sorry. Brontula says, "See that that's the legal aspect in Texas. Don't cross that threshold, but other states, even in your home, it gets questioned. I mean, even in places like Texas, or Utah, Colorado, places like that, like they still have restrictions. So there's no place. So even in places where you can open carry, there's still restrictions. So like I said, there's even if you have a gun, there's no getting around just learning um, unarmed self-defense. They go hand in hand with each other. No pun intended. Sergeant says, why silencers are regulated way more than guns themselves. Silencers can't do anything by themselves and aren't even a weapon. It, so I was actually talking to my friend about that too, because he was going to get one, but they make them so. Not only are they regulated, they make them very expensive so that to dissuade people from buying them. Like it's more expensive to get that than get the weapon because they think if people have these sound suppressors that they're gonna go around just murking people. Like that's not the case. The fact of the matter is guns are very loud. So this is why some people want silencers. Not everyone wants to blow their eardrum out, in a self defense moment. Um, but there's some paranoia about the silencers, absolutely. And again, I do understand why there is, but it's kind of I, I think the paranoia around the suppressors is a little unjustified. American Redneck says, I own 326 firearms. Damn. And have 20 or so loaded at all times in various locations. That's what's up. So like I said, there's a lot of people out there who collect, like American Redneck. And I hope this I guess he owns that owns that label. That's cool. Um, I used to work for a guy in college, and he happily called himself a redneck. I used to do carpet, and so some people think I'm just like this little white collar guy, but in college I used to do carpet and tile work, and we used to pride ourselves. We were like, hey man, we actually do real work. um, but um, yeah, he was like, man, he says nothing wrong with being a redneck. He said, I'm a redneck. I was like, all right. So I didn't have a problem with it. If that's what he called himself. But in any case, yeah, like people like American Redneck, a lot of these guys just collect firearms because they're gun enthusiasts. I can't be mad at that. I collect knives and swords, so people could say the same thing about me. It's just that guns and excuse me, it's just that people don't consider blades as dangerous as guns. Well, they would, but there's way more knives and blades out there than there are people as well. So the whole thing that there's more guns out there than people doesn't necessarily mean anything. So, um, but I do have some questions for you guys related to that. But I'll get through the comments first. Sergeant says they're actually just convenient because you can shoot in your background and not bother your neighbors. Exactly, that's my point. That's my point. They're loud, so it'd be nice to wear these have those suppressors so you don't have to always be using earplugs And like I said, in an actual self-defense situation, it's not like you're gonna go grab your gun and go grab your earplugs too. Like, you know what I'm saying? And if you're in the home, it's gonna be louder than if you're outside because that noise is gonna reverberate. It's gonna be loud. I mean, sometimes the loudness is good because it'll scare away anyone who's coming into the house to provoke you to shoot at them in the first place. That's a good thing. But again, it can cause hearing damage. So that's why people want suppressors. It's not because everyone has um, a secret dream to be going out there like James Bond and just doing vigilante stuff. Um, American Redneck says I got that covered too. So guys, okay, all right. I have two questions for you guys. All right, then we get back to the martial arts stuff. So one, and I think I already know where American Redneck stands for this, but do you guys keep one in the chamber? And if not, why? Like for your go-to weapon, like that you carry on you, do you always keep one in the chamber? And if not, why? I know some people say they wouldn't do so with Glock 19s, but other than that, and I know the issue with that, but yeah, do you guys believe in keeping one in the chamber? And if not, why? This is something I wanted to ask before, but I was going to ask it on my YouTube shorts, but since I'm here, I might as well ask it here, and I might do it in the YouTube shorts too. But after I've seen most people talk about it who have trained way more than I am, I only have my army training, um, and I didn't serve in a combat arena, so I only had that basic infantry training. That's it. From and after that, we just had to qualify with our weapon every year. That was the extent of my my firearm training until I started going to the range as a civilian. But yeah, so my first question to you guys is: do you guys believe in keeping one in the chamber when your go-to weapon? And if you don't, why don't you? And if you guys can't hear me, let me know. I'll speak louder or adjust the volume. But um, sorry, this isn't a life and death situation. You most likely won't have time to rack it, especially if somebody else has a gun pointed at you. Exactly. And that's what came to my attention because when I originally, heard of this a few years ago, I was like, keep one in the chamber. I was like, isn't that dangerous? And then the more I learned about it, I'm like, oh, well, that actually makes sense, especially in a self-defense situation. Like, you don't have time to chamber your round, and you might be in imminent danger. So that actually makes quite a lot of sense. What I was worried was that there would be like misfirings. That was the thing I was worried about is that they would it would lead to more misfiring. But from what I hear, if you take care of your weapon, that's not going to happen very often. Outside of, like I said, those instances of what I heard about Glock 19s. I had did a question on my YouTube shorts when I was actually asking people at the time, like what sort of, I was like, I decided to get my first gun gun as a self-defense weapon for my bug out bag. And I was asking people, what should I get? And I got all sorts of responses. And afterwards, I decided I'm just going to get a Glock 19 because it'll be, you know, easy, it's cheap, you can get them everywhere, 9 millimeter, perfect for a bug out bag. Um, plus, I know a lot of people say for their personal carry they keep a Glock 19, not just because it's very reliable, but because often in a situation where they do actually have to use their weapon, the police always take the weapon afterwards for investigation, but they don't. But from what I understand, you don't get them back. So people say they rather give them their their throwaway weapon, like they use the Glock 19 as a throwaway weapon, whereas the good ones they keep at home. So, but yeah, it makes sense to me. You should keep one in the chamber because in a self-defense situation, you already want it racked. That makes a lot of sense to me. American Red says one in the chamber, don't carry. Makes sense. Makes sense. Um, all right, so here's my second question to you guys. All right, um, do any, especially with you, American Redneck, since you said you got like 326 weapons, this would probably be a great weapon, great question for you and anyone else though. Do you modify your triggers, or do you pretty much leave your triggers as is? Oh, it's Chief. Funny, Chief William got right into what I was just about to ask you guys. He said Chief William says I would suggest changing the trigger sights and maybe the grip and always use hollow points. So that's another issue with the hollow points. We can get into that, um, but so Chief William already says he modifies his triggers. So what do you guys think about that? I'm not really a fan of that, but I know you can buy a trigger. Something I learned about recently is that you can buy a trigger gauge and use that to ascertain, how much pressure you want to squeeze the trigger to make it comfortable for you. But I think for me, just being a beginner in this, I wouldn't have any sort of preference for like for modifying the triggers. Um, Chief Williams said it has better stopping power and there's less penetrating power, meaning less chance of it going through your target or whatever you hit when you miss and harming someone innocent. Good point. No pun intended, but yeah, good point. Chief Williams says with triggers, it really depends on the gun. American Redneck says I only modify my 50 cal. When you modified it, did you make it easier to pull or harder to pull? So I can tell you like the weapons I plan on buying if I don't have them already. So of course the Glock, like I said, Glock 19 for my bug out bag. Um, I want a 6 hour P320 as like my either as my personal carry or just like my go-to at-home weapon. A semi-auto shotgun for the house and some sort of AR-15. Which these would be for the homes though. What martial arts were you discussing? No, so I wasn't discussing any particular martial art. I was asking that people have like martial arts questions, like as far as technique, um, training methods, the concepts, or the history of any particular martial arts. Because I've had these discussions before, and sometimes people ask me all sorts of random questions about martial arts. So the live stream, at least it was supposed to be about like people asking me martial arts questions. And when people mention guns, and I'm like, well, yeah, because guns are an aspect of self-defense, and like I said, to be fully trained with one, I think it still requires some hand-to-hand combat training. Because I know when you do those tactical firearm seminars, like it usually involves a healthy amount of wrestling, because when using a gun in self-defense, like it's usually in close quarters where people will try to go for your weapon. American Redneck says, "So gotta go. Granddaughters needing help. Oh, well, tend to your granddaughter, my friend. Thanks for chatting with us. Hope you come back. All right." So I appreciate American Redneck coming in and giving us some information. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about martial arts, I'm more than happy to oblige. Like I said, I have over 30 years of martial arts experience. So it's not many things that I haven't encountered. I've either had like direct training with people in many different martial arts, or have done like research in it or whatever. So only thing I haven't done is like professionally compete or get any like um, full certification in anything yet. That is coming. Also, questions on like people might actually have like nutrition questions about martial arts, like supplementation and that sort of stuff. So those questions are all on board as well. If you guys got to go, that's fine. We can pick it up another time. That's perfectly all right. Hold up. So Sergeant says, what age is appropriate to start my daughters and which martial arts types? So g- generally, as soon as they start walking, you can start teaching them. There's no so in Thailand, they used to start these kids fighting like 6 to 8 years old. Like they recently made this illegal, like 3 or 4 years ago. But in Thailand, they used to let these kids fight at like 8 years old. I mean, professionally. And they recently outlawed that. But aside from competition, they can start as soon as they're walking, like 3, 4 years old. Um, and as far as what type of martial art, I would say unless you have a particular preference for what you want to teach them, I would say take them to whatever's closest to you. Make it convenient for yourself. Like if there's some local strip mall next to you that teaches karate or taekwondo or kung fu or even MMA, take them there because I think for parents and people who are beginning martial arts as little kids, they really don't have a preference yet. So just take them to whatever's convenient to you, like closest to you. Then once they actually start training and they actually say, well, hey, dad, I would actually like to start learning MMA or Brazilian Jiu Jitsu or something else, then you can find those specific schools. But I would say take them wherever's closest to you. And if they're like at least of school age, somewhere between 5 and 6, they're ready to start now. Chief Williams says, sadly, you also got to be careful with what you say when you call the cops, even if it was in complete self-defense. The best thing to say is you were scared for your life, no matter what you're using. True. So I was saying, so that was before you came on the stream, Chief William. But I was saying, for folks who do plan on using a weapon as self-defense, they should probably get a membership to USCCA, because NRA is kind of dead in the water now. But I think if you have a membership to USCCA, you have access to like their lawyers, and they let you know what you should say when an incident occurs. Like as soon as something happens, you call them, and they tell you this is what you say when you inform the police what happened to keep you from, you know, going to jail. Like either way, like after an incident that happens, they're probably gonna take you in. But if you do, as you're told by like the lawyer or USCCA, then you'll be able to come out of this unscathed. Um, Chief Williams says a gun or martial arts, depending on if you're gotten official training, you can be marked and used as a deadly weapon. Used as a deadly weapon. So that is actually a myth, a long-standing myth in martial arts, that once you start learning martial arts, that you are now a deadly weapon. That's actually not true. So the fact of the matter is, if you get into any sort of physical altercation with someone, you can be charged with you can be charged with assault with a deadly weapon, whether you know martial arts or not. That has nothing to do with being trained in martial arts. That's a myth that was started like long time ago, and there's still some people in martial arts who believes that, but most people in the martial arts community know that's not true. That what is the case is if you beat someone up barehanded, then yes, you can be charged with assault. Um, like first degree assault. Um, but that has nothing to do with you knowing martial arts or not. Because there's martial artists who've gotten their asses kicked. They're not going to be charged with assault with a deadly weapon when they just got their asses beat. Like the other person will. So that's a myth that martial artists, even if they're now, what may be the case is like so if you're a professional fighter, right? You're you're then you're more likely to get charged with first degree assault. This is why you rarely see fighters getting into well, for one, most people aren't gonna try to attack a professional fighter. That's number one. But number two, most professional fighters will avoid situations where they might possibly have to fight people on the street because one, that's going to hurt their career, and two, they're more likely to be seen as the aggressor because they're the more well trained person. So, AB says what's cracking. But yeah, that's the truth of the matter is that you can be charged with assault as a deadly weapon regardless of if you know martial arts or not. If you beat someone up with your bare hands. But hey, this is how this I live by this old samurai quote, or wherever the quote originally came from. It's supposed to be a Japanese proverb. I don't know if it actually came from samurai or not, but I live by it. It's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in a war. So that's how I see it. Anyway, and again, sorry guys, I am cooking. Lethal Force. Yeah. So what I was saying, Chief William, is yeah, they may have been martial artists, but I was saying that it's not just limited to martial artists. Um, it can go, it can pertain to anyone who gets into a physical fight with someone and beats someone up. They can be charged with first degree assault with lethal force because if you kill someone barehanded, it's that's still um, that can be considered second degree homicide or manslaughter. So, but it has nothing to do with whether the person was a martial artist or not. It depends on the severity of the situation. Blame Dirty says, Sergeant, six is a great age for judo. First thing you learn is how to fall. That was actually my first martial art, Blame Dirty. I think you were on here before when I said that, right? But yeah, judo was my first martial art. I actually chose it because this is when I was seven, though, not six. But my parents enrolled me at the YMCA when we were living in Illinois and said, "Hey, you gotta take swimming because we want you to learn how to swim um, in case you're in water." Shout out to them for that because I do, it's useful. And they said you have to take judo or karate. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to karate. They're going to beat me up. So I took judo, not knowing judo is way more intense than karate was. And yeah, they do teach you your break falls and basic rolling. But you need it because, uh, like, it was like at least one or two classes where I was the only student and this instructors literally took turns just throwing me around. I don't think that would happen in today's world unless you're in Taiwan. But unless you know that news story, then you won't get that joke. Tragedy that happened there, seriously though, with this kid and some very bad instructors. But in any case, yeah, you wouldn't get that nowadays where the instructors took the whole class just throwing you around. And luckily, I learned my break falls. But the 80s was a whole different animal than today. That's not something that probably would fly with parents today. Sergeant says, my oldest is 5. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, so judo. So what I'll say, Sergeant, is like I said, whatever's the closest martial arts um, training to you, it will be fine for your kids. Because they're too young to have a preference. Once they start training for a few years, then they might actually have a preference. They might say, "Hey, Dad, I want to learn karate, or I want to take up MMA, or I want to learn kickboxing, or I want to do BJJ, or I want to learn Krav Maga, whatever." So, but for right now, just since they're just starting out, just take them somewhere that's convenient to you. Because believe me, it's gonna matter. Like when you gotta take them every day at what 4:30 or whatever to class, it will be convenient when that place is no long is like just 10 minutes away as opposed to being 35 minutes away. It makes a big difference. Like only adults should be driving that far to commute every day to martial arts. Give me a second. Let me put this up here, see if I can balance this. Yeah. But yeah, I started my journey at 7. So trust me, any kids absorb this stuff. So anything you put them in, they're probably gonna love it. Whether it's judo, karate, taekwondo, kung fu, whatever. And usually the most abundant places are karate and taekwondo. Although I think MMA has been starting to compete with these karate places for dominance in the local American strip malls. And when they get older, you might want to get them, teach them how to use weapons too. That'll actually protect them if they know how to use weapons. Then teach them to respect weapons. So I think that's smart too. My father tried with me when my cousin and we were younger. He would take us out to Virginia, and I don't remember what sort of weapon he had. I'm guessing it was like some sort of 9mm semi-auto gun, but I have no idea what it was since this was like back in the 80s. So this is almost 40 years ago. But he said when my cousin and I heard the gun go off, we got scared, and he decided not to teach us because we looked like we were too terrified of the weapons. But I kind of wish he pushed through that and taught us anyway, because it would have been really fun. And we had nothing but space where we were at, a really remote rural part of Virginia called Rockfish. I think Rockfish is in Nelson County, Virginia, if I remember correctly. But it's pretty remote. Most of the young people have moved away from that place. They have either moved to the adjoining county where Charlottesville is, or they've moved out of Virginia entirely, because there's nothing in Rockfish at all. It's a very barren area, but it's great for like people who want to go hunting and fishing, which is what my relatives who still live there do, and they're all older men. Excuse the scraping of the pan. You guys have any other martial arts questions though? So, so for instance, when I stopped doing judo, I was actually more interested now in something more physical like karate. And I remember my stepfather taking me to a few places to see, if they would be good places for me to learn. And this one particular place, again, this is in the 80s, so this probably wouldn't fly today in 2024. But I remember going to this one place, and the guy was like, "Yeah, we train here. We also, we do weight training. We fight." He's like, he was telling my stepfather, he said, "Your son might come back, days here where he might be bruised, maybe have like a few black eyes, or you know some some wounds." He said sometimes, he said, some of our kids might have a broken bone or something. He said, but it's, basically all part of the process. And I'm like, damn, that's violent. But at the same time, I was kind of excited about it. I don't know what my stepfather thought about it, but I'm guessing he didn't like that because he didn't enroll me. Because the guy was like, "Yeah, man," he said, we fight here, so a lot of our kids, sometimes they get injured." He said nothing major, just like some bruises here and there. He said, sometimes they might get a broken bone or black eye, but it's all part of the process. And I'm like, yo, that's crazy, because I can't imagine that as an adult now, like someone telling a parent that coming to possibly enroll their kid in a karate class, that they might get injured like that just in training. Like most parents today wouldn't even think about it. um, but yeah, back then karate was effective. Like it's a joke now, but back then in the 80s, you had a lot of schools like that. Cobra Kai was realistic. Like it looks brutal now when you look at them, but Cobra Kai, that was a pretty realistic training for a lot of people back then. Like they taught their they taught their students how to actually fight. Although they didn't necessarily teach them to be irresponsible in that movie. I'm not talking about the TV show. I'm talking about the original Karate Kid. But if there's no other questions, guys, I might end this pretty soon. But I appreciate the back and forth, the talking about um, firearms and stuff like that, because that is an aspect of self-defense. And like I said, the license, most of those licensed tactical firearm instructors do have martial arts backgrounds and are pretty fit. Like you see these guys, like they look like, you can tell these are former military, former LEOs. But if there's not much to talk about there, then that's cool. I'm going to have a second stream later this evening. But yeah, I don't see too many questions. Blame Dirty. Always appreciate you guys coming in. You too, Sergeant. Um, I'm gonna do another stream later this evening for people if they're interested. I haven't picked the topic yet though, but it'll be something different than this. Okay. Uh, but if people have any other like questions, they can leave it in the comment section after I upload this. So when people watch this on replay, if they have questions, they can just leave it in the comment section. I'll still answer it. But I think I get more engagement in the early evening, so I'll probably stick to that from now on. I like to try out different times to see when I'm gonna get the most engagement, and that seems to be the best time. But if people have any other, but in my second stream this evening, if people still had questions about today, this stream, about martial arts or self defense, they can ask me in that stream too. All right, guys, I'm out. Sergeant, good journeys with finding your kids a good place to train. If you got any more questions, let me know though. All right, because if it's like a specific style or something like that, I do know instructors in different places like involved with my martial arts. John Fan, Jeet Kune Do, and the other arts that Guru Dan and Santo teaches. I'm part of a network, so I know those folks, um, and they can refer me to places anywhere in the country or even globally. So depending on where you live, and if you want to learn John Fan Jeet Kune Do or Filipino martial arts, they'll let me know what's close to you. All right. But aside from that, guys, I'm out. Thanks. About to eat. Any thoughts, questions, concerns, queries, criticisms? Leave them in the comment section. If you appreciate this, please give me a like and a subscribe. Share the videos, and you can hit the bell for notifications when I'm dropping a new video. Um, and you can give me a super thanks if you like. I'll take a super thanks anytime. Or you can always donate to me on the Cash App or buy me a coffee. I always appreciate that. All right. But guys, thanks. Talk to you later.